जाति नीति कुल गोत्र दूरगम नाम रूप गुण दोष वर्जितम् देश काल विषयातिवर्ति यद् ब्रह्म तत्त्वमसि भावयात्मनि यत्परं सकलभाग
Call from Call ended.
चित्खनमनादिवस्तु यद् ब्रह्म तत्त्वमसि भावयात्मनि षड्भिर्निधिरयोगिहृद् भावितं न करणैर्विभावितम् बुद्ध्यवेद्यमनवद्यमस्ति यद् ब्रह्म तत्त्वमसि भावयात्मनि भ्रान्तिकल्पितजगत्कलाश्रयम् स्वाश्रयं च सदसद्विलक्षणम् निष्कलं निरुपमानमद्धि यद् ब्रह्म तत्त्वमसि भावयात्मनि जन्म वृद्धि परिणत्यपक्षया व्याधिनाशनविहीनमव्ययम् विश्वसृष्ट्यवविघातकारणम् ब्रह्म तत्त्वमसि भावयात्मनि अस्तभेदमनपास्तलक्षणम् निस्तरङ्गजलराशि निश्चलम् नित्यमुक्तमविभक्तमूर्ति यद् ब्रह्म तत्त्वमसि भावयात्मनि एकमेव सदनेककारणम् कारणान्तरनिरास्य कारणम् कार्यकारणविलक्षणं स्वयम् ब्रह्म तत्त्वमसि भावयात्मनि निर्विकल्पकमनल्पमक्षरम् यक्षराक्षरविलक्षणं परम् नित्यमव्ययसुखं निरञ्जनम् ब्रह्म तत्त्वमसि भावयात्मनि यद्विभाति सदनेकधा भ्रमात् नामरूपगुणविक्रियात्मना हेमवत् स्वयमविक्रियं सदा ब्रह्म तत्त्वमसि भावयात्मनि यच्च कास्त्यनपरं परात्परम् प्रत्यगेकरसमात्मलक्षणम् सत्यचित्सुखमनन्तमव्ययम् ब्रह्म तत्त्वमसि भावयात्मनि ब्रह्म तत्त्वमसि भावयात्मनि
Hari Om. Good evening. A very warm welcome to all of you. Please come. Let's pray together. Invoke the power of praying together. Asato ma sadgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityorma amrutam gamaya. Sahanavavatu sahanau bhunakto sahaviryam karavavahai tejasvina vadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. Shri Chinmaya Sadgurave Namaha. O Lord, the Almighty, the Omniscient, the Omnipotent, the Omnipresent, who also has the divine names as Somaha and Purujit, to such a Supreme Almighty, together with Shraddha, Bhakti and Prapatti, we offer our humblemost salutations. To seek His grace, His love, His mercy, His benevolence, His affection, His forgiveness, His strength. O Lord, bless us with the divine qualities such as Shraddha, Bhakti, Jnana, Vairagya, Prapatti and Mumukshutva in a much more enhanced manner. And this is not for any personal gain, but it is only and only to understand thy true self. In this very life, in our own hearts, and reach your lotus feet at the end of our lives. Our humble salutations to the Guru Parampara once again. Om Tat Sat. Today, with the grace of the Almighty and the abundant blessings of the Guru Parampara, we are on our Divine Discourse number 453 on the 2nd of December 2025 and Aparoksha Anubhuti series 40. स्वस्ति श्री विश्ववसुनाम संवत्सर दक्षिणायन हेमंत ऋतु मार्गशिर मास शुक्लपक्ष भौमवासर द्वादशातिथौ अश्विनी नक्षत्रे वर्यान् योगे बलवकरणे. On this auspicious day of Tuesday and the time of the Pradosham, we all reaffirm our understanding of Naham Karta, Hari Karta, Hari Preranaya, Hari Prityartham. That supreme reality alone is that single pointed truth, and we again pray and beseech in the Almighty to keep us all established in that truth and live our lives with peace, with ease and fulfillment. Our humble salutations to the Guru Parampara once again. Om Tat Sat. Good evening, everybody. A very warm welcome. You all must have realized why we started 2 minutes before today. We need to offer our deepest condolences to one of our profound sadhaks by name Srimati Usha Bhatta. We have captured, one of our friends had captured her, a picture I would like to display over here. See, there she is. In her, I think, mid or late 70s, she had severe problems with her health. Several problems. She used to say, I don't want to tell you all these problems because there are too many. And she somehow got into our yoga group and she started doing yoga with us. And that's when I realized that nature gives to the ones who ask for. If you do something to improve your health, definitely health is granted. And if you don't, then whatever health you have, it just drops down. So she was one great example where we saw a miraculous change in her health. And knowing her condition, if one has to say, how do such people pass away with so many issues? There is a guess that they could take a long time suffering in the hospitals and at home and again hospital and again at home. But I tell you, she was one fortunate soul where I used to see every day morning between 5:30 to 5:40 her Mahamrityunjaya jap count would come on the group. Between this time. And the last I saw was on the 25th November. And I think after a day or two she must have been admitted. And she passed away on the 29th. Maybe a day or day and a half. And how was that? All the family members are sitting around her, and at about 12:25 in the early morning, that is 00:25, she breathed her last. So we offer our condolences to the entire family, and I'm sure she must have reached the higher planes. She did about 18 lakh Mahamrityunjaya mantras in this entire period, starting on the 19th of September 2020. And as she was like closer to her death, the count was increasing, and the kind of joy she was experiencing, I could feel that. What I saw her about 5 years ago and what I saw her now there was a drastic change. And we pray that she reaches the abode of the Almighty. Om Tat Sat. Let's offer a minute of silence for the merging of the soul into the divine. Om Tat Sat. Yeah. Sorry. So now we are on the second technique today. First one was Yama, and today we'll be studying the second one, Niyama. To me, again, these techniques are important. Try to catch hold of any one of the technique and be established. Practice them to the core, whatever suits you. And everywhere it's going to be the same thing, what Bhagavan Shankaracharya will tell. According to the Patanjali Yoga Sutra, it may appear differently, but from the point of view of Shankaracharya, he says, my one single agenda is being established in the Parabrahman, that one reality. So today, what I'll explain to you all is slightly differently, where how can I be that supreme consciousness? I know what I am. I am this person with so many problems in the body, with so many challenges in the mind, and so many issues around me. We are already stuck here. Now that is because of the Ajnana and the Maya Shakti. Understand this very carefully. Because you are blessed, you have come here to listen to this. You are getting this knowledge to rewire and change yourself. So we'll use some scientific facts. Understand how the universe is made, how our body is made, and try to correlate now the atoms, the cells, like the so-called we call neutron, electron, proton. I made some analysis and research on how we can connect it to the Sattva, Rajas and Tamas, which in Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna talks about the gunas, TRIGUNAS. So they are constantly in action. So knowing this, that this is one massive creation in action. It's not, you are not doing anything. That has to be crystal clear understood. See, many a times in life something attracts us so much, and after a while you don't have that attraction. How did that happen? And why is that one thing attracting only you? Why not others? Why is not everybody chasing after that? It could be a person, place, or an object. So these are some fundamental questions which we need to ask ourselves. And if I look at myself closely, I see that from time to time there is something within you which pushes you to something else. So that comes by how the evolvement of the soul. Now you are no different over here. You are in Ajnana. It is that Lord and Lord alone who is living your life. But in Ajnana, as yourself. So we'll take these facts and we'll get to listen to some good stories and see how we can understand this. These two, I found them to be extremely good in terms of focusing on that Brahman. You live in that thought. And now you may say, how will that make a change? Very simple. Go by the fundamental rule of how your brain works. Whether rewiring of your brain is possible or not. Understand that. And we know that rewiring of brain happens. The more and more, again and again and again and again, you think of that aspect that my true self is not this body, mind and senses, but I am so and so. Only don't say I am not this, because as I told you, that correction has to be done with what it is. And this neuroscience is accepting it very well. So the more you keep doing this, giving this thought to your mind, the more faster your journey will be to getting established in that supreme truth. Okay, so we'll start with a prayer and then move forward. Shri Harim Paramanandam Upadeshtaramishwaram Vyapakam Sarvalokana Karanam Tam Namamyaham. We are on verse 105. Here we'll be talking about Niyama. So I'll give a brief recap on Yama, which is 104, and then we'll move on to 105. 105. Sajatiya pravahascha vijatiya tiraskritihi niyamo hi paranando niyamat kriyate budhai. So to maintain a continuous flow of thoughts of the same species, meaning of the same kind, and by rejecting the influx or the inflow of all dissimilar thoughts, currents. Now this is called Niyama, which is in the true sense great bliss experience, and this has to be regularly practiced by the wise. This is what is told over here. Now if you see, what is the approach? Bhagavan Shankaracharya takes that dual approach where he says, look, what we know as per Patanjali Yoga Shastra, we are very clear about it. And he then says, I will give you my version of how one needs to look at this from the perspective of Advaita. He is very clear and he correlates these facts. That is what we need to understand in a deep sense. how that correlation is being told over here. What is that which Patanjali Yoga Sutra is telling, and what is that which we need to do? So we'll just proceed a little bit and then try to correlate. In Yama are where you have got the don'ts, restraints. What is the restraint? The first one is ahimsa, meaning not to do violence. That is known as ahimsa. Okay. Then comes not to tell lies. So satyam, ahimsa, satyam, and then comes brahmacharyam. Is this sense control? Basically, is talking about the celibacy, because celibacy gives one the massive power in terms of rising on the path of spirituality. Because for spiritual awakening, one needs the power at the level of the mind. So by yoga, they prescribe celibacy. And then aparigraha, non-acceptance of gifts. And last one is asteyam, no stealing. In whatever way it is, don't try to steal. So these are the facts which he talks about for self-realization, which primarily means you need to cultivate a foundation of very good habits. That is what he tells us over here. And from the Vedantic angle, if you see, he says sarva brahmeti vijnana, meaning it is not jnana. He talks about vijnana. Vijnana means whereby experience. Bring the thought of that Parabrahma by experience in your daily life. Knowing is different, experiencing is different. Like for example, if I tell you, have you seen this movie? You say no. And then I tell you the whole story. You are my very good friend. And we are together. We have lots of time on hand. I tell you the story, I think even more than 3 hours, describing every aspect of the movie. Now you know the movie. But if I ask you, have you experienced the movie? No, because you have not seen it. So in the same way, you may learn whatever in terms of the intensity, how much ever you may learn, but you, unless and until you experience it, then it is of no great use to you. Sarvam brahmeti vijnana. By knowing that everything is none other than Brahman, the senses are automatically controlled. Here you don't have to do that control on your senses. Where he was talking about brahmacharya, asteya, satyam, ahimsa, all this. So the first one is, you don't have to do that. Now, how does knowing about Brahman bring you to a stage where you can actually control your senses? There is one, see, some aspects, when they are told by the Upanishads. Now this is from the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. Atmanam chet vijaniyat ahamasmiti purushaha kimichan kasya kamaya shariram anusvanjaret. What it says, if I were to know I am the infinite existence consciousness, if I were to realize this, then desiring what and for whose sake would one continue to suffer along with this body? See, initially it may appear that I can't relate to this. You can't relate to this because you have not experienced this. As you start experiencing, you will come to an understanding. Yes, there is meaning in this. So here we have to, literally what one has to do is, it means like, say, there is one more phrase which is in the Isha Upanishad. Isha vasyamidam sarvam yat kinchit jagatyam jagat. The very first shloka of this Isha Upanishad. Literally it means cover it by God. Whatever you see, cover it by God. Whatever you hear, cover it by God. Whatever you taste, cover it by God. Whatever you smell, cover it by God. In other words, it means you have to discover God in each and every sense perception. Covering of God means you discover God over there. And by discovering God, what are you doing? You are uncovering that God which is already there. And what is that uncovering? Now that uncovering I will explain in terms of going to the molecular level, the atomic level, the subatomic level. And when the whole thing is made of that, then we will use the potter, clay and the pot. We will use that theory and nicely integrate it with the Mahavakyas. Prajnanam Brahma, Ayam Atma Brahma, Tattvamasi and Aham Brahmasmi. That is what we will do today. Because this is, we know, but tell me how to experience. This is the problem. And unless and until we do use all these techniques, these are basically what I have used and how I was able to overcome this great mystery. And let me tell you, another issue comes that what is your feeling when you start getting closer to this truth? When everything is that one reality, that supreme consciousness. In one simple way I can tell you is, when you are aware that you are awake, and when you being awake you are aware of the dream, nothing of the dream causes you either pleasure or pain. All the good of the dream will not give you any pleasure, and all the pain of the dream will also not give you pain in the waking state. But while you were in the dream, were you not experiencing pleasure and pain? So here it says, now there is no big difference. Take a dream. What is operating in the dream? The mind. Now when you get up, you got to know that everything was nothing but a projection of my mind. For this you don't need to go in for any massive study. Clear? But what it says is, understand that even in your dream, behind the mind there was consciousness. We just say, an ordinary person will say, hey, it was all in my mind. Nothing, there was no real world or no real event which happened. It was all created by my mind. Okay? Now, here what we are understanding is, in the waking world, I have now come to know that there is consciousness. Here, that is what Bhagavan Shankaracharya is talking. There is consciousness. You have to understand this carefully. And now that consciousness is dreaming a world. And how? Through this mind again. Now whatever you see, all the perceptions, all the actions, all of them are happening in the mind. And how is that? With that consciousness. So the moment you get to know that my mind constructed this entire world, you call that a dream in a waking state. And from the waking state, when you go to the state of awakening, above the waking is a state of awakened state. When you go to that awakened state, how? By this knowledge, that's all. Oh, there is something which is operating through the same body, mind and senses. And that is the supreme truth. So now all that which is happening over here is happening in the mind of that consciousness that is known as Hiranyagarbha, operating through these individual minds. Just that you have, like your mind was the Hiranyagarbha in your dream construct, and various people were there who also have their own minds. But all that was led by your mind. So this means a clear illusion. Let's take up one more analogy. What is the relationship of this aham bhava or ahankara with the body? What is the relationship of this ahankara with the mind? And what is the relationship of this ahankara with consciousness? Now here they say the relationship of this ahankara with the body is karmajanyam. It is ruled by the law of karma till the time the karma is fructified for this body, the jiva will stay with this body. So from the time of birth till the time of death, this ahankara is associated with the body. So the karma janyam, it has got the relationship of karma. And of the mind, it says it is sahajam, natural. How? If you have a mirror and anything in front of the mirror is reflected in the mirror. How? Just casually. Sahajam. You don't have to do anything for that to be reflected in the mirror. So the relationship of ahankara with the mind is sahajam, because the mind is a reflector. And what is the relationship of this ahankara with the consciousness? The Shastra says Bhrantijanyam, just an illusion. Now let's put things together now. You have the sun and there is water. Now because there is water, there is a reflection of the sun in the water. Now the moment the water pot is broken, then there is no water and there is no reflection. But does the water have any relationship with the sun? It may be the reflection of the sun in a Ganges water, it may be the reflection of the sun in the Manas Sarovar lake, or it could be the reflection of the sun in a dirty gutter of water. Does anything of these reflections affect the sun, or does it have any association or relationship? It is a pure Bhrantijanyam, means it is an appearance. It is nothing but an illusion which is created. So in this way, now using all these methods, you have to understand the falsity of this jiva. Another simple analogy I'll give you. Now I show you a picture of yours where you are a small baby, a few months, you many times we come across these pictures where you are a few months old, where you are a young boy, where you are a teenage boy, where you are in college, and where you got married, and where you are with your kids, all young kids, 3, 5, 7 years old kids, and now with your older kids. Now if I ask you, put all the photos one next to each other and ask you, who is this, who is this, who is this, right from the time you were 3 years, a baby boy or a girl, few months old, from there till today you will say, I am this, I am this, I am this. Don't you see how your body has changed? Don't you see how your mind has changed? What was your mind when you were a small child? a baby of 3 or 5 months old, and what you were when you were a teenager, what you were when you are in your graduation, where you are now at this point of time in life. But still we say, I am this. Now here, we have made a mistake of that I as the ahankara I, which is karmajanyam and sahajam. But we have not understood that one who is seeing all these different states of the body, different states of the mind, is a completely different person. And that is that sun. It has got no relationship. So, using these now, we have to somehow come to the understanding. If you really want to get this knowledge, you have to get to the core of this. And one very easy and simple thing which can make a change using the brain neurology analysis is start observing your own self just like you observe somebody who is next to you. That's very simple. In anything what you're doing, before you start a meal, say, till now what, I'm going to have a meal. Wow, there is a sumptuous meal in front of me and I'm going to enjoy it today. Cut that, snap that. Now say, I am going to enjoy, or I'm going to observe this body enjoy its meal or eat its meal. I am now watching this body or this person getting some scolding from somebody, or being abused by somebody, or being praised by somebody. Become a witness of each and every action. Without this, you will not get this knowledge. This is to be written on the wall. If you are just listening, then I told you, there is a big difference between listening and experiencing. Anubhava and Anubhuti. Anubhuti is experience without the perceptions. Anubhava is an understanding and of course an experience, but with the perceptions. Now that is the next level, Anubhava and Anubhuti. So make this your Anubhuti. You are without any connection to that person. How will that happen? This snapping away will go by more and more of every action you are doing. Now you are listening. Say, I am the observer of this person with this body and mind listening. I am not the listener. You are snapping that I. So we have to get to that understanding. So now in Niyama, what Patanjali, you have Shaucha, Santosha, Swadhyaya, Tapaha and Ishvara Pranidhanani. Okay, these are the 5 imperatives he gives. Meaning you have to do this. Like, what is the first one? Shaucha. Shaucha is cleanliness. Simple. Cleanliness of the body and the mind. As we have been listening from our childhood, cleanliness is next to godliness. So in the same way, one has to keep purifying. As we keep our body clean, in the same way we have to keep our mind clean. So that's the reason many of us traditionally, if you see, we chant mantras when we take a bath. And at the level of the body also, we first purify the water. Gange Chaimane Chaiva Godavari Saraswati Narmada Sindhu Kaveri Jalesmin Sannidhim Kuru. What are we telling? Jalesmin, in this water, Sannidhim Kuru, please come and bless this water. Become one with this water wherever you are bathing. And then you put it on your body. And while you are bathing, it is at the level of the body. You use soap, you use whatever it is, and you cleanse the body at the gross level, but at the subtle level, you are also chanting the name of the Lord and you are cleansing your mind. So these are imperatives. Okay. And it so happened that once they say you go to Ganga and all your sins are washed away. Once somebody asked Sri Ramakrishna, this person, he went to Ganga and came, and I've heard that Ganga cleanses your sins, but I don't see any change in this person. You mean to say that Ganga does not cleanse your sins? Then Sri Ramakrishna said, no, Ganga does cleanse your sins. But then how is this person the same? So then Sri Ramakrishna says, look, when he got into the water, he was cleansed all, but his sins all got cleansed. Means the sins, they just came out of his body and they sat on a tree over there. And the moment this person finished his bath and he came out, then everything dropped back onto him. So what it means here is just taking a dip in the river Ganga, that is not going to cleanse your sins. It is that internal cleansing which is required, and that Shaucha is what they're talking about over here. Why the Ganges? The reason is not about that water. Ganges is about where the sages reside. Go to Varanasi, go to Benares, that is where the sages reside, and get that knowledge of internal cleansing, Manashuddhi, Chitta Shuddhi. With the scriptural understanding, what we are doing over here, now get that and cleanse your mind. And then comes Santosha, contentment. All what one needs to have is that level of contentment in life, without which no, we can't achieve anything in life. Although you might have achieved, but what happens is you are somewhere deep down, something is bothering you. Now, my own analysis is, why should I work for something which I already have and I don't need? You see for yourself. We already have for what we are working in life. We don't need anything beyond that, but still we are doing. How is that? Because you get a dopamine kick out of it every day, and without which you will become restless. So to get that kick, you again and again do that. But if you use your common sense and you understand, when you cook, don't you calculate how many people are there at home? Let's say you have about half a dozen people or some 8-10 people at home, guests at home. Then what you have cooked at that point, after all the guests are left, only 1 or 2 of you are remaining at home. Will you still cook the same amount? No. So, in another example is when you are traveling for 2 days, and say you are traveling for a fortnight. What you pack for a fortnight and what you pack for 2 days, is it not different? So whether it is 2 days or 5 days, you still pack for what you do for 15 days? No. So when this prudence is used, so in life also we have to understand, where are my energies going now? At the end, what happens? All your physical belongings, they are all left behind. And now you see for yourself, most of our attainment in life or achievement in life is towards the physical belongings. So here that Viveka Shakti comes into being. One needs to get that, and he gets that only by grace. So once you make these modifications, that contentment comes in one's life, and that makes a big difference. And then next one is Swadhyaya. Swadhyaya is understood in different ways, whereas like introspection is also one of the ways it is called as Swadhyaya. Second day is Veda Parayana, what we call, where we study the Vedas, we read, we chant the mantras. So that is Veda Parayana, is also Swadhyaya. And the third one is, if you are primarily trying to understand the Vedas in relation to your true self. That's again combination of introspection and the Vedic knowledge. So that's another way of Swadhyaya. So At every stage in our life, one has to understand how much I have progressed today. When you're going to sleep, what did I do to go to closer to God? Sa vidya tan matiryaya. Education is true only when it makes the mind closer to God. Whatever we are learning in our life. See, we learn so many things. But is this taking me closer to the God, to the Lord? That is one thing which we need to introspect at the end of our day before going to sleep. And when I get up, know that today is one great opportunity for me to get closer to the divine. So this is Swadhyaya. Then you have Tapaha, austerity, where it can, as we all know, we do so many kinds. Tapaha means to burn. How do we do? Self-inflicted burning. Like we do fasting, we do mauna, we do yatra, where you're putting yourself into a lot of difficulty by walking. Not by like today's chopper rides where you go from one dham to another dham by chopper. And no, that is not. You have to put that exertion. What is told in that exertion? Every time you feel the pain, offer it at the lotus feet and say, "Oh Lord, I want you. I don't mind this pain. Anything I can take in my life for your sake." That gives you a reinforced opportunity to tell the Lord again and again that just to have your darshan, just to have your association, I am willing to take this pain. And you are practically doing this. So on these lines, when you put yourself into a lot of austerities, that becomes another imperative for moving towards the Lord. And the last one is Ishvara Pranidhana. Now that is worship. Worship of the Lord, where you do some puja on a daily basis. Or you get into association with the divine by doing your jap. So this is another imperative which has to be a part of everyday's life. So why is this? Now this is not by choice. You have to do yama and niyama are primarily important for a sadhak, because without these qualities you cannot get into a state of neither shravana, manana and nididhyasana. Forget, you will not even be able to do shravana. Many people, you show them something about Vedanta, you ask them to listen. Everybody has got a capacity. Some may listen for 1 minute, some 2, some 3, some 5. That's it. This comes by your yama and niyama sadhanas. This is how it is. Now here, to tell you some beautiful stories about how this happens. Now what Bhagavan Shankaracharya is talking about, I will associate with the stories. Sajatiya pravahascha. Sajatiya pravahascha. Like-minded thoughts about that Brahman. That same thoughts about that divine self, pravahascha. Keep that flowing towards you. An unbroken flow of thoughts of the same kind of Brahman. Vijatiya tiraskritihi. And he says, Vijatiya, something which is not related to the Lord, reject it. Vijatiya tiraskritihi. Something of a different kind. What is a different kind? Which is again taking you towards the world. Tiraskritihi. Niyamaha hi paranandaha. This alone is the true niyama. This is niyama, what Bhagavan Shankaracharya says. Now just like those senses which were moving out in yama, to control those senses, what did you say? Everything is that Brahman alone. You said that. Now when you know it is you and you alone, why will you go to achieve it? Say if you have bought a home, will you want to buy your home again? One example. Second example is, when you have already achieved something, You will not want to go and achieve it again because you have already achieved it. If you have already done your graduation, will you again sit for your graduation exam? No. So here, if I have to tell you differently, it is primarily trying to say that once you have realized that it is that Lord and Lord alone. Now, for me, I'll tell you. Earlier, every year you go religiously once or twice for a excursion of a trip. It could be within the country or it could be outside the country. Now, you are always feeling to go somewhere and you made it a point. After getting deeper and deeper and deeper into this, now what is happening with you? Wherever you go, you have that thought of that divine in your mind. So what else matters to you? Whether you are in your place or you are in some other place, when the thought of the Lord is going to be enveloping your mind, your place doesn't matter. Other perceptions also. You want to run for a movie, you want to run for there's some new restaurant which has opened over here, we should go there and we try this, that. When each and every aspect of your sense perception, when it is enveloped and loaded with the thought of the divine, then you really don't have to go anywhere. And I started introspecting and seeing, why is it that urge is not coming to go anywhere? And then you realize that when you're already experiencing bliss wherever you are, you don't have to go to another place to experience this. So, Niyamaha Paramanandaha. This alone is true Niyama. And what is it? It is that supreme bliss. Niyamat kriyate buddhaihi. It says, therefore the wise constantly practice exactly this Niyama. This is what is told over here. Wise like you. They are in that constant. When you are chanting, when you are repeating that mantra, when you are offering your devotion to the Lord, when in every activity, why do we say when you are bathing, why do you chant the mantra? So while doing other activities also we start doing the same routine thing. Not only while bathing, after you come out also, when you are wiping your body, when you are getting dressed, keep reciting that mantra in your mind. Fill that mantra with this thought of the Lord. So now, some good stories. Once there was a thief, a very notorious thief. And what you call, the high class, meaning he doesn't steal in small places. So he sneaked into the palace. And whose palace? King Janaka. It was about crossed midnight, say 1 or 2 a.m. in the morning, when everybody is deep sleep. And what happened was, he stole and he was to run. Now that he has stolen, he has to move fast. He cannot take a leisure walk. He suddenly stood still at one point. And what did he see there? He saw King Janaka sitting on the throne naked. And he's bathing in that moonlight. Now that moonlight was radiating on the majesty. And suddenly the thief forgot for what he had come. He forgot, now I have stolen, I have to leave from here. Now Janaka, he smiled and he told him, see, tonight you came to steal whatever jewelry, money. Instead, steal this one thought from me. Now see what happens. Why we say, the impact of how you treat from whom you are learning. How much intensity it has got on you is now the moment he is caught, now his life is completely in the hands of Janaka. So what did Janaka tell him? He just said, take this one thought, all this is Brahman. You sit with this thought. So now it is like a Guru Vakya for him. He did not question it. He did not try to go put any doubts on it. He accepted it with full force and he said, all this is Brahman. And started chanting, chanting, chanting. He closed his eyes. Minutes passed, hours passed. That single thought, where every memory of those past robbery, what he had done, and what future plans he has done, everything washed off. Because he was doing it with intensity. Because he knows, now King Janaka has told me, if I disobey, meaning I'll be gone for life, I'll be hanged. He took it with that intensity. And then it so happened that King Janaka, the next day morning, he saw him a transformed person. And he becomes the palace's most trusted guard. Because no thief could ever pass the gate of a person who knows how to steal. So now here, this impact and it practice. Another story here is of which is of Kanchi. Now, in Kanchi temple of Kamakshi, there was a Devadasi who was, of course, extremely beautiful and too good in her dance. Many kings used to come to see her dance. And it's not only the king, since it's a public performance, even beggars also would go there to see her dance. One day it so happened that Adi Shankaracharya, Bhagavan Shankaracharya, he came there and he observed her performance. When the performance was over, Bhagavan Shankaracharya, he asks her softly, my dear child, all these eyes, can you see here? Around, they are literally drinking your beauty. I was watching you dance, I was watching the others look at you, how they were looking at you. They were literally drinking your beauty. But who are you really? Do you know that? She said, I am the queen of desire. The moment anybody sees me, they are filled with a desire. Then Bhagavan Shankaracharya, he sings a single line, Sarvam Brahmeti Vijnanat. Suddenly listening to that, it made a difference in her and she froze. Now this is not just a story, it comes from the real life stories of Bhagavan Shankaracharya. And then she goes and she locks herself in that inner sanctum sanctorium. She took that tiny lamp and started gazing at that and began that her, what you call as Niyama warrior, Brahman alone, Brahman alone. Sarvam Brahmeti Vijnanat. And after a week, she comes out. Till then, what is she doing? Every fantasy with whomever she had been with, every fear of that old age, because the moment old age comes, they are of no value. All those thoughts were coming. She was able to cross over all those thoughts. She mercilessly, she struck them down with the sword of this Brahman alone. And they say 7 days later, the temple priest broke open the door because Bhagavan Shankaracharya had said, don't do anything. After 7 days, when they broke open the door, they found her seated in a lotus pose with half eyes open. Body was luminous, a gentle smile on her lips. Then she opened her eyes and then she said, now my dance is over. And thereafter they say, she never danced again for these mortals, they say. And they say that goddess Kamakshi was dancing through her body from that day onwards. See, these are how an impact can happen, provided you catch it with that confidence. And see, Ramana Maharshi talks about one crow. He says there was one crow which came and there was food in front of him. It came and it snatched away in Ramanashram. And when the second day it came, Bhagavan Ramana was there. Everybody was shouting, and with sticks and all they came running, because that was quite bold. It used to come and snatch from the plate and go. Ramana simply looked at the crow with amazing kindness, and he just uttered, Aham Brahmasmi. Now see, he is uttering to a crow. They say that that crow, it froze mid-flight. It took what it wanted, and the moment he uttered Aham Brahmasmi, it froze. It had picked up some banana. They say it dropped it, and it went and sat on the windowsill, motionless for 3 hours, staring at Ramana Maharshi. From that day, the crow never stole again, they said. This is all the devotees who have seen. Every day it used to come, sit near Ramana Maharshi. Without even shaking the head a bit, it was continuously listening what Ramana Maharshi was talking about. So, all this is Brahman, Aham Brahmasmi. Now see, even a crow can practice that supreme Niyama, what we are talking about over here. It is all how we train our mind. We've all been used to seeing what is good for the eyes, what is good for the tongue, what is good for my legs to go and visit, what is good for my skin. We are used to only specifying and giving pleasure to all this. So here it says that you have to train your mind to flow towards the supreme reality. That becomes sajatiya pravaha. And vijatiya tiraskratihi, whatever is other than the divine, cut it off. Cut it off. We have had enough of pleasure in our life. Now at one point realize. So this is the way what they talk about is how you have to bring in the concept of moving closer to the divine. See, one thing I could understand here is that Viveka Shakti is required. All this which we are talking, if you want to bring this into your life, you need to develop that Viveka Shakti. Anitya drishyeshu viviccha nityam tasmin samadatta ihasmalilaya viveka vairagya vishuddha chittam yosau viveki tamaham namami. Now, in this world, in this universe of constant changing people, places, objects, the one who pierces through these changing entities and looks at that unchanging Brahman in his experience. How to do this? We are going to listen to the innermost details. Everything in life, living, non-living, is finally at the molecular level, at the atomic level. So look at that atomic level. And what is there in that atomic level? God particle. Having realized this, anitya drishyeshu viviccha nityam, look at everything, experience everything, but with the fact that I am the observer of this body and mind which is doing everything. Tasmin samadatta ihasmalilaya. Now this is talking about who is a Viveki, the one with the Vivek Shakti. What does he do? Tasmin samadatta, established in this ihasmalilaya. How does he do? How does he absorb himself? He absorbs it in a very lilaya, easy manner, like a play, casual manner, no efforts. Why is it happening for him and not for us? Viveka vairagya vishuddha chittam. With this Viveka and Vairagya, vishuddha chittam, meaning his mind has become clean, purified. To such a Viveki, Yoso Viveki, Tamaham Namami, to such a Viveki I bow down. They refer it to Swami Vivekananda many a times, but this comes from the Vedas. One has to become this Viveki, otherwise you will not be able to progress. The reason is you have to know what is right, what is wrong for you. If you can't do that, then how will you progress in life? So once it so happens, now when we're talking of this awareness, one person goes, Shishya goes to a guru and it asks him, please Swamiji, Guruji, tell me how to meditate. So then the Swamiji asks, you tell me how you are meditating first, let me understand from you. Then the Shishya says, I focus within what I am told and I repeat Aham Brahmasmi, Aham Brahmasmi. What is said over here now? You start doing this. Why I am telling you this is so that we don't make this mistake. I am that consciousness, all that. I am that everything, Sarvam Brahmam Vijnanat. Okay. Now the sage says, that is why your meditation is not giving you any fruit. Why? Because you are caught in that aham bhava, that notion of I. What are you saying? I am this pure awareness. I am this Parabrahman. But isn't that what the scriptures say? Aham Brahmasmi, I am Brahman. Then the sage tells, but in what sense? Are you dissolving your ego or you are reinforcing it? See, have you seen many people, they say, morning I get up and without my puja, I don't even drink a cup of coffee. You should see how much of I is pouring in that statement of theirs. Without this, I don't do this. Where I is talking. So he says, now the sage picks up a mirror and holds it in front of this seer. He says, look into this mirror. What do you see? He says, I see myself. The sage now says, good. Now if you were keep repeating, I am the one in the mirror, I am the one in the mirror, would that make you the reflection? Seeker says, no. The reflection is just an appearance and I am looking at it. Now he says, there is only one Ekamadvitiya Brahma. The other is just a reflection. So exactly your meditation is like speaking to the reflection. Your mind construct of that I is basically that egotic I. Instead of recognizing that you are already the one who sees. Unless and until you do that, then you will not achieve anything. So when we are talking about Aham Brahmasmi, know that you should not use the egoistic I. You should use once you are established in the final stage. Otherwise it will not make any sense to us. So keeping these aspects, one needs to progress on. Kriyate Budhai. Go ahead. Don't lag behind. One has to move forward on the lines that, yes, in everything there is that Lord and Lord alone. The Nobel Prize of 2012 spoke about this God particle. Now look at our body. Let's talk about that for some time. For an average person, there are about 37 to 50 lakh crore cells in our body. And the same amount and more are the microbial, the bacteria on the gut and on the skin. They outnumber cells at this level. And now each cell is made up of molecules which again have these proteins, the lipids, the DNA, etc. And each molecule consists of numerous atoms. For example, a single water molecule, they say, has got 3 atoms. A single protein molecule can have thousands of atoms. And DNA in this cell contains billions of atoms. Now we are talking about your body, and you say, I am this body. With what face and with what guts can you say that you are this body, which is created in this So this God particle, a fundamental particle predicted by this standard model of physics, now they say that everything is moved in the body by this God particle. Understand this. Now let's come to the Sattva, Rajas and Tamas, what I said, where Lord Krishna again and again says, is talking about Prakritaivacha karmani kriyamanani sarvasha. It's all that which is being done by this Prakriti. You are not doing anything. So now Sattva is compared to electron, which is known for, Sattva is known for purity, balance, knowledge. How do you do this? Sattva guna represents light, lightness, knowledge, clarity, all this. So that is compared to electron. Now electrons are how? Lightweight, fast moving, dynamic, much like this Sattva. And as just Sattva moves towards wisdom and enlightenment, just as Sattva helps in spiritual progress, these electrons facilitate that energy flow in an atom, in electricity or chemical reactions or whatever it is in the body. Okay. Now come to Tamas. Rajas. What is Rajas? Where you are always with passion, motion and full of activity. Now that is compared to a proton. Now these are trying to gain similarity and familiarity. Okay. This Rajas guna is always active, forceful and full of energy, driving change and motion. Now protons are positively charged and create the force that holds electrons in that orbit, just as the Rajas drives action. Not only action, ambition and achievement in life. So without protons, the atom wouldn't hold its structure. So similarly, without Rajas, life wouldn't progress. Okay. Now come to Tamas, which is known for inertia and darkness. That is neutron. This Tamas guna, as it represents this inertia and darkness, neutrons are neutral. They're providing mass and stability to the atom. So just like how Tamas provides that grounding, stagnation, if at all it is excessive. So just as neutrons prevent an atom from collapsing, there you see Tamas prevents life from becoming chaotic. But too much of it leads to ignorance or laziness, you can say. So this is how this, if you talk in the scientific way, atoms are connected to our Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. Now, how do I use these concepts and meditate? Now we take the pot and clay, the Mahavakyas, okay? Now that intellectual awakening, which we talk as Bodhana, let's take Prajnanam Brahma, consciousness is Brahman. Now what is happening here? Bodhana is happening, okay? The potter is telling the pot, do you know what you are made of? Pot is listening. You are not just a pot, you are clay also. Oh, now the pot understands. I am not just the pot, I am clay also. First level, you are not just this body, mind. It's telling you are also awareness within. Simple, see. But still seeing it as something outside or separate. That is still there. I am not only this body, mind and senses, but I am also awareness. Well taken, I understood. Now next level is I am Atma Brahma, where the manana is happening. That reflection and assimilation. Like information, confirmation and transformation. Now here confirmation is happening. So this self is Brahman. Now the potter tells the pot, you may think you are just a pot, but look deeper, your essence is clay. He gives a second reckoning over here. Everywhere there is clay. Inside clay, outside clay, within, everywhere. So this is the second level. Now comes to a stage where that direct experience is happening. Tattvamasi, you are that. The potter now directly instructs the pot. You and the clay are not different. You are clay itself. See, from where did he move? From first he said you are the pot and the clay. Now he has come to a stage, you are clay itself. He comes to that stage. And then the final realization happens. Aham Brahmasmi. I am Brahman. Now the pot no longer needs the potter to tell it anything. It has realized itself. Because it knows that all within, without, elsewhere, everywhere it is that pot, clay and clay alone. I am not just made of clay, I am clay. And clay alone exists over here. So tell yourself that I am not this person. Then what are you? I am that atom. And what is that atom made of? Atom is made of that God particle. So what is there eventually in this? God particle. What is there in the person next to me? God particle. So that way one has to draw conclusions from these small things. Let's see what is the basic definition of an atom. The smallest unit of matter, composed of protons, neutrons, electrons. Now cell, the basic structural and functional unit of life, made up of many molecules which are composed of atoms. Now how do you compare size? Now see again the greatness of this creation. Atoms are extremely tiny, 0.1 to 0.5 nanometer they say in diameter, but cells are much larger, ranging from 10 to 100 micrometers. In some cases they are about 1 lakh times larger than an atom. Now these atoms consist of that nucleus which has that proton, neutron, electron, and each cell is made of billions of atoms. My dear, you are talking, I am this body. Where are you? There can't be a bigger fool than us saying that I am this. The cell is made of billions of atoms which are all orchestrated into molecules. Of what kind? Proteins, lipids, DNA, forming different formations, the nucleus or the mitochondria. Now what is its functions? They form the building of all blocks of all matter, including cells. And cells are living entities that perform metabolism, growth, reproduction, and other biological factors. Do we know anything about this? But we just say, I am this body. See, one needs to really slap himself or herself with this kind of structure. And now see, these atoms are not only in living, they are also in the non-living matter. Cells exist only in living beings. Now the real question comes, are we just living bodies, or is there something beyond the body that makes us alive? Now this takes us beyond science into that realm of deep inquiry and self-exploration. Now what science says, we are just biochemical machines. From a purely materialistic perspective, life is a product of complex chemical and electrical processes in the body. The heart beats, the brain processes information, the cells function through the DNA with all the driven instructions. When these processes stop, life ceases, suggesting we are just biological machines with no deeper essence. But what happens now? This view fails to explain consciousness, that self-awareness. But Vedanta says we are not just the body, but the eternal self. So this is where we should know that the body is temporary, like a wave that rises and falls, but that ocean which is that self, that is eternal. Bhagavad Gita says, Na jayate mriyate va kadachit, nayam bhutva bhavita vana bhuyaha. The self is neither born nor dies. It is eternal, unborn, and indestructible. So we have to get established in that indestructible format. How do you do that? Is now with this reckoning, change the circuit in your mind. If we were only the body, then why do we feel separate from it? Why do we say my hand, my body? Why? I can watch my thoughts, emotions, the body changes. All this I'm able to see. So come out of this. We are that consciousness using this body as an instrument. Just like the body is like a rented house for that consciousness, awareness within us. We live in this for a time, but we are not the house. Life is not just a mechanical process. It is that dance of that consciousness within us. So this real I is beyond death and birth. And knowing this is true liberation. Just come out of the body, mind, senses. For that, start practicing the observer. We are not just bodies, we are that which gives life to the body. Realizing this is the difference between that living as a body and living as the eternal self. We have to practice this. As the song of the Sannyasin, Swami Vivekananda says, there is but one, the free, the knower, the self. Without a name, without a form or stain. In him is Maya, dreaming all is dream. The witness, he appears as nature, soul. Know thou art that sannyasi in bold. Om Tat Sat Om. Truth is only one. That's all. Now, how many ways you can to interpret this and to understand this is our glory again. Just get established. For that, the simple most is, as you are observing others, start observing this body. Simple way of getting into this understanding. Some facts about the universe, we'll take it some in the next class. That also is worth understanding. Okay, we'll take it in the next class. But know that you are using this body, mind, senses as an apparatus, just like you're using your mobile, you're using your house, you're using your car, you're using your pen, your book. All apparatus what you're using. Go to that state and be established in that state. Shri Krishna Arpanamastu Idam Namah. We'll go to verse number 54. Somapo mritapas somaha purujit purasattamaha vinayo jayas satya sandhyo dasharya sattvatam patihi. Somaha, one who in the form of the moonlight, Soma, nourishes all the plant kingdom with their respective essential sap. It is very well known in the Hindu literature that the moonlight is that which enriches the food value in the fruits and grains. In the Gita, Bhagavan says, I in the form of the moonlight enrich all the plant kingdom. The term can also mean Siva, in which case it would mean as one who is ever consorted by Uma. Pushnami chaushadihi sarvaha somo bhutva Rasatmakaha in the Gita. And 506 Purujit, one who has won over numerous enemies. The word Puru means many. To such a divine Lord we offer our humble salutations. Seek His grace, mercy and blessings. Now we take blessings of Lord Dhanvantari to give us that adequate health. Body is a vehicle. Om Namo Bhagavate Mahasudarshanaya Vasudevaya Dhanvantaraye Amrutagalashahastaya Sarvabhaya Vinashaya Sarvaroga Nivaranaya Trailokyapataye Trailokyanidaye Shri Mahavishnu Swarupa Shri Dhanvantari Swarupa Shri 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 Aushadha Chakra Narayanaya Swaha. Om Namo Bhagavate Mahasudarshanaya Vasudevaya Dhanvantaraye Amrutagalashahastaya Sarvabhaya Vinashaya Sarvaroga Nivaranaya Trailokyapataye Trailokyanidaye Shri Mahavishnu Swarupa Shri Dhanvantari Swarupa Shri 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 Aushadha Chakra Narayanaya Swaha. Om Namo Bhagavate Mahasudarshanaya Vasudevaya Dhanvantaraye Amrutagalashahastaya Sarvabhaya Vinashaya Sarvaroga Nivaranaya Trailokyapataye Trailokyanidaye Shri Mahavishnu Swarupa Shri Dhanvantari Swarupa Shri 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 Aushadha Chakra Narayanaya Swaha. Our humble salutations to Lord Dhanvantari. So today we'll do the Sakshi Bhava meditation for the next 5 minutes. Please sit comfortably, head, neck and spine in a straight line. A very simple way of meditating as an observer. Now what are you observing? With your eyes closed, you're going to observe your mind and the thoughts in your mind. Head, neck, spine in a straight line. Take a few deep breaths. Inhale and exhale as deep as you can. Now keep observing your breath for some time. Just simply observe your mind. Now in your mind, observe the thoughts. Without making an effort to see a thought, just observe the thoughts which come in your mind. And if a thought comes to your mind, don't acknowledge that thought. Just allow the thought to move away. You'll gradually see that the number of thoughts are reducing in your mind. You are cultivating the power of becoming a witness at the deepest level. From the thoughts you go to your mind, and from observation of your mind go to your body, overall to the person you are so called as. Start observing this person. And then observe the people next to this person. Reinforce this habit of seeing your own self as a witness. Observe your breath. Observe your body. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. Shri Chinmaya Sadgurave Namaha. Together we offer today's Jnana Yajna at the lotus feet of the Almighty. Seek His grace, mercy and blessings. Naham karta, hari preranaya, hari prityartam, Shri Krishna arpanamastu idam namama. Om Tat Sat. Good evening to all of you once again. So start practicing. We know enough now. Put it into practice. And you will see a gradual change in your life towards that fulfillment, contentment, which we all are aspiring, but in a different place where we will not get it. Shri Krishna arpanamastu.
जाति नीति कुल गोत्र दोरगम नाम रूप गुण दोष वर्जितम देश काल विषयातिवर्ति यद् ब्रह्म तत्त्वमसि भावयात्मनि यत्परं सकलभागगोचरं गोचरं विमलबोधचक्षुषः शुद्धचित्घनमनादिवस्तु यद् ब्रह्मतत्त्वमसि भावयात्मनि षड्भिरोर्निभिरयोगि योगिहृद् भावितं न करणैर्विभावितं बुद्ध्यवेद्यमनवद्यमस्ति यद् ब्रह्मतत्त्वमसि भावयात्मनि भ्रान्तिकल्पितजगत्कलाश्रयम् स्वाश्रयं च सदसद्विलक्षणम् निष्कलं निरुपमानमद्धि यद् ब्रह्मतत्त्वमसि भावयात्मनि जन्मवृद्धिपरिणत्यपक्षया व्याधिनाशनविहीनमव्ययम् विश्वसृष्ट्यवविघातकारणम् ब्रह्मतत्त्वमसि भावयात्मनि अस्तभेदमनपास्तलक्षणम् निस्तरङ्गजलराशिनिश्चलम् नित्यमुक्तमविभक्तमूर्ति यद् ब्रह्मतत्त्वमसि भावयात्मनि एकमेव सदनेककारणम् कारणान्तरविनास्य कारणम् कार्यकारणविलक्षणं स्वयम् ब्रह्मतत्त्वमसि भावयात्मनि निर्विकल्पकमनल्पमक्षरम् यक्षराक्षरविलक्षणं परम् नित्यमव्ययसुखं निरञ्जनम् ब्रह्मतत्त्वमसि भावयात्मनि यद्विभाति सदनेकधा भ्रमात् नामरूपगुणविक्रियात्मना हेमवत् स्वयमविक्रियं सदा ब्रह्मतत्त्वमसि भावयात्मनि यच्च कास्य न परं परात् परम् प्रत्यगेकरसमात्मलक्षणम् सत्यचित्सुखमनन्तमव्ययम् ब्रह्मतत्त्वमसि भावयात्मनि ब्रह्मतत्त्वमसि भावयात्मनि